welcome to another Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. I'm your host tonight, Scott Waddell. This is our 44th episode, so welcome aboard. Don't forget to hit subscribe to tune into each and every episode here on the podcast. So we got a special guest that I have been waiting to talk to this guy for quite a while. Basically get to watch him on TV each and every week. And I hold him in high regard as far as a racing analyst and, as a person in general. So welcome to the program, Mr. Kurt Hughes. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. You guys have been doing a fantastic job at this, and I'm excited to be on with you.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. I mean, it's a Friday night. We're recording this, but I think it's going to be a popular one. I think you got a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, well, I try to bring it every time I'm on the show, so I
Yeah,
tried to give the viewers what I think they might like,
yeah,
in terms of an analyst. So I hope they
yeah.
like it.
Oh yeah, you do a fantastic job. Wanted to ask you, as part of the Red Short team over there as an analyst, how did it all come together for you? Like, how did it first, get asked, or how did you get interested in this side of the business?
It's actually a funny story. I think it was about the spring of 2018.
Yeah.
Lee had contacted my brother Jason. uh,
Okay.
and maybe talked to him a bit about it, but Jason didn't really tell me much. He just texted me and said that Lee Drake is going to be calling me. Make sure I answer my phone. So I didn't have Lee's number at the time, so it was going to come up as a strange number, and I may ignore it on another day. But I was
Yeah.
sure to answer it when he called, so a couple weeks passed by, and he called, and then he asked me if I would be interested in doing the broadcast.
Yeah.
And first thought in my head was, hell no. I
Yeah, I
want,
was gonna
I
ask you what
want,
your first thoughts were when you kind of
yeah,
got the opportunity to do this.
yeah, I wanted no part of it really in my mind. But then I didn't say that to him. I just kind of said, well, I don't know if I'd be really good at that, or I forget what I said exactly. But he said, don't make a decision right now. Don't tell me now. Take a couple weeks, think about it, and let me know. And
Yeah.
so I get off the phone. I go out in the living room. I tell my wife, Colleen, why Lee was calling, and
Yeah.
she was urging me. She said it'd be fantastic for me. She thought it'd be a great idea to do it. So she was urging me, and so was my brother Jason. He thought it'd be a great idea too. So the both of them pushed me towards it, and I finally said, yeah, okay. So I called him back, and he said, come on into the office.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about it. And so I go into the office, and he had just come back from the O'Brien Awards not long before.
Yeah.
And usually when Islanders get to a show, they usually get together and they're chatting. And so Frances Lund was up for an award for her pictures. She takes fantastic pictures. So one of her
Yeah.
pictures was up for an award. And Lee was floating around the idea maybe, he was looking for someone on the broadcast, or I don't know how it come up in conversation. But Francis Lund actually gave him my name, thought I'd be a great
Okay.
fit for him. And so Lee hadn't thought about me at the time, but once Francis mentioned it to him, he thought it was a great idea too. So then he contacted me, and we had a chat in the office, and then he brought me over to the broadcast desk to check it out and to make sure I could work the headset and the buttons
Yeah.
for the mic and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was good to go, and I said, yeah, let's give it a shot. And so
Yeah.
that's how I kind of got started.
No, that's awesome. You do a fantastic job over there, Kurt. Enjoy listening to you each and every week. And I know it takes a heck of a lot of work behind the scenes because you just don't go on there, especially at Red Shores, because you guys are prepared for each and every show. You've got, some scripting done, which I think is a great idea to have for all tracks. Kind of gives you that nice flow that you guys have developed. But I wanted to find out, what do you do behind the scenes to prepare for your shows?
Well, first off, Lee and Peter, they deserve all the credit for the show because they do all the background work. Like they do the scripts, the promos, and they have
Yeah.
everything ready to roll for us for like guys like Rocky and me, we kind of just show up and we do our homework on the picks and that. But Lee and Peter do all the background work and they get the script all ready for us, ready to roll. And I should give Peter a shout out too, because I don't think if it wasn't for Peter, Lee paired me up with him my first year working there.
Yeah.
And he was a really good guy to work with. He's so flawless on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And so when I was just starting out, I knew the horses. I could talk about the horses, but the broadcasting stuff, it was completely different. And
Brand new. Yeah.
sometimes I would be struggling to find my way during the broadcast, and he would be right there to pick up for me. And so I thank Peter a lot for what he did for me early on when I
Yeah.
first started. But going into the show, doing my homework, it's really I look at the horses in the race. Class droppers, they get
Yeah.
my attention. And then I watch a lot of replays.
Yeah.
Um, Horses caught in the week before, struggled to, get out, find room or whatever. I circle them as well. And then I look at the drivers. Our top 10, I mean, it doesn't really matter who's driving. They all do a great job. We got a
Absolutely.
pretty deep, talented group.
Yeah.
Jason, David, Mark, Adam,
Yeah.
Corey, Kenny Murphy, even the veterans like Barrio and Arsenault.
Yeah.
They all do a great job. It doesn't really matter who's driving. As long as it's one of those 10, you can really be rest assured you're going to get a good trip.
So for those that don't know you off of the camera, of course, just want to go back a few years. Some people may know that you used to drive horses. So kind of tell us how you got into driving. I think it was way back in 2002, which is a long time ago. So kind of tell us how you got into your driving career.
Well, I never really wanted to be a driver, actually. I was quite content with just helping Jason out the barn with his stable. He kind of took over from my father. My father had a little small stable in Charlottetown, and I
Yeah.
kind of got my start in the business following my dad around the track. He had a nice colt in the early '90s named Rouge Baron, and so I would go with him on stake trips over to Fredericton or St. John, or so I would tag along with him, carry the harness, carry the bucket, just kind of following along with him. But then a couple years later, when Jason kind of took over the stable, anyone who knows Jason knows he's pretty tight with the dollar, and so I was free help. So he was quite happy to wrangle me in no matter where I was in the neighborhood. He would come show up and take me into the track, and I was pretty happy to go with him. I always wanted to tag along with him, so I would go to the track with him, help him out, and I was just training along with Jason, being his training partner, really. And then I started to get the itch when I was about 22, which
Yeah.
was about 2002, and then I thought I'd take a shot at it and get my driver's license. And then we had this old horse that we had retired a few years back prior to me getting my license. His name was Denashton Nukes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we brought him out of retirement. He was a great family horse, probably my mother's favorite. If you had to ask her what her
Yeah.
favorite horse was, it'd have to be him. So we brought him back out of retirement, and I got my start driving him. My early
Yeah.
lessons were on him.
Yeah, and I look back at I know you're a stats guy, you like stats. So don't know if you realize it or not, but you've had 600 drives in your
Yes.
career. Yeah, a little over 250 grand in purse money and 65 wins to go along with that. So I know you made a move late in your driving career. What kind of spurred you to go to Ontario when you did?
Well, I was actually driving here in Charlottetown. I was more of a seat filler for Jason.
Yeah,
I drove when he couldn't. The horses in the stable, I drove for him if he couldn't. If he was away at a stake race, I drove the one that was left back in
yeah,
Charlottetown, and I also drove a horse. He drove horses for Brendan Mullen back in the day, and
yeah.
so there was a horse that Brendan had. If Jason couldn't drive, that I would drive. His name was Bud the Spud. So
Oh, okay.
um, and then we had a nice little horse in our barn, Edgewater RB at the time.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember now.
yeah, not too many
Yeah,
people would do it, but Jason, he was our best horse in our stable, and Jason let me drive him, so that was pretty cool. So I drove him and Bud the Spud for a few years, and that was pretty much all my driving was. I didn't drive a lot. And so I met my wife, Colleen. She was going to vet school
Okay.
um, at the Atlantic Vet College. And so I met
Yeah.
her, and she was doing her internship in '06. And so after her internship was over, she got a job just south of Peterborough.
Yeah.
And so we just moved there. We bought or we got a little house right north of Coburg.
Yeah.
And I set up shop there at Peterborough at Kawartha Downs. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So I got to ask you, of course, the premier race over in Charlottetown, the Gold Cup and Saucer, and you've seen so many of them throughout your career and even before you got into the broadcasting side of it. But um, take give us a couple of ones that you think really stand out in your mind.
I have a couple that really stand out. The
Yeah.
1989 Gold Cup and Saucer for sure. My
Yeah.
uncle Harry won it with Stargaze Hanover.
Sergey's
Uh,
Hanover.
yeah, I was 10
Yeah.
years old. Just again, just started watching the races. That was the first Gold Cup and Saucer I watched live.
Yeah.
And so we went to the trial the week before, and he had made a break going into the first turn, and ended up rallying to finish fourth. And then there was an inquiry after the race, and so it was kind of dicey whether he was going to make the final or not. So they left him in fourth position, and so he
Yeah.
made the final. So going into the final, he was a pretty nice horse, and so Harry put him on the front, and he just went coast to coast on front, winning. It was a pretty incredible race, and it's probably a race I've watched the most of all the replays that
Yeah.
I've ever watched. I think I've watched that race well over 1,000 times.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool race for my uncle to win back in the day. And then another one just a few years ago was Smooth Lou
Yeah.
winning for the Shepherd Boys
The
back in
Shepherd
I think
boys.
yeah
Yeah.
2021. That was a
Yeah.
pretty cool race too. Jason drove Smooth Lou in the trial and
Yes, you
got him
did.
into the final. And then he ended up driving Rock Lights. It was a horse Donnie McRae owned in the final. So Robert came home for the week and brought a suit. So
Yeah.
Patrick put Robert up to drive, and that horse, what a Herculean effort that was on that day. He was
Yeah.
he got in the hole for maybe 5 seconds, then came first up for Robert, and he just drove up, and he was an easy winner.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was pretty emotional after the race. It was a pretty cool race to watch.
Yeah.
I grew up with Robert and Patrick, and so you know that was a dream that we've all had. And so to see them win it, it was pretty cool. And then I would say the third one would be probably Native Born
Yeah.
back in the day, back in '98, when Bill Robinson brought
Bill
those two
Robinson
horses.
had him. Yeah.
Yeah, he brought Stout and Native Born down. Brett Robinson drove them.
Yeah.
Both won their trials. And then that trip he went in the final, we used to get up back to the old Burns. We used to get up on top of our barn to watch the final. So we would climb up in the barn and watch the race. And I remember Brett Robinson coming around that final turn with Native Born. It just
Yeah.
felt like the bike was sliding sideways. He was going so fast. And it was a world class horse, right?
Yeah.
So that was a really cool race to watch and see him win that race.
So what do you feel on Jordan Stratton and Cover Bridge the last couple of years? Just,
Yeah,
you
pretty
know,
incredible stuff, right?
yeah, the feedback he's got, Kurt, has been unbelievable. Just, the guy, not only the guy that he is, but what he did, coming back and interacting with the fans. It really got people talking.
Yeah, the three I listed were my top three, but the last 2 years of him doing that, I think we
Yeah.
should give him the key to the city here.
Oh,
The way he
absolutely.
was, I didn't know much about Jordan. I watched him race at Yonkers, but I didn't know much about him, and to watch him do that after the first time was so unexpected.
Yeah.
We've seen guys giving high fives. Paul McDonnell, I remember he paraded some beach somewhere. I was there for the North America Cup, and I
Yeah.
watched him parade down the stretch after he won. And that was really the only interaction I've seen other than Jody Jameson. He started doing the high five thing with the fans. and
He did.
interaction. Jody does a great job with that. But the way Jordan did it was just completely different.
Yeah.
Like a big moment for him, probably one of his biggest wins, and most memorable. And he stopped to share it with the fans, like getting off the bike, taking selfies with the horse. It was just
Yeah.
incredible stuff. Stopped, had a conversation. He had all the time in the world for the
Yeah.
fans. It was pretty incredible to see.
Yeah, I know. And I know I was in the winner circle there and had a chance to do a quick interview with Jordan. And him and I have chatted over Facebook and stuff. And he kind of tipped me off when he found out Cover Bridge was coming. So of course I was all excited about that. And in the winner circle, they're all yelling three-peat, of course. They want him to come back again next year. So I think that would be a great story if he does.
Yeah, he's such a classy horse, right? He can,
Yeah.
the way he tipped him three wide there both times, both years. The first year, he kind of got pushed out four wide with PL Ozzy trying to find room there around the last turn. And the
Yeah.
way Jordan had to correct him around the last turn, he kind of broke his momentum. And the way he battled back on down the stretch to win that first one was
Yeah.
incredible. And then this year, he just pure domination. There was no question. He was jogging.
Yeah, because I know when I approached him earlier, when before the declarations were going to come out, this was probably even a month or two before, and asked him if he was coming. He said that, he'd like to, but he was kind of saying no at the time. The information that he was getting, the horse wasn't quite right. He just wasn't himself like he was last year at that point. So they were kind of looking at almost not coming. So when I got that message from Jordan, he said, "Listen, I got a quick update for you, and just confirm it with Mark and the boys or whatever. But we're coming up for to defend the title," was his words, and
Yeah.
it turned out to be a memorable night.
Yeah, it was. And to see the fans' reaction when he
Yeah,
brought the horse right up, like that, we need more of that. That's just
we do.
incredible stuff. The fans got memories that are going to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Just incredible stuff by Jordan. And I hope we do more of it. I hope drivers do more of it every year when they come.
Yeah, I mean that was one of our bullet points for this chat tonight was how can we get the younger people coming to the races? I mean, I still go to the simulcast once in a while, and even walking through Red Shores when I was there, we still have that aging demographic that are around the track. How do we bring these young people in? I mean, I think the mini horses was a fantastic idea.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
Old home week, I went in to watch my nephew Aiden,
yeah,
Jason's son Aiden, race his little horse Daisy in the mini races. And it was during Old Home Week. I forget what afternoon it was, but the tarmac was full of people. I couldn't
yeah.
believe it. Claire McDonald actually come up to me. She had been walking by and she came up to me and she couldn't believe the crowd on the tarmac for the mini races. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The races weren't until 6 o'clock that night. And
Yeah.
even Lee Drake, I bumped into Lee. He was there then too. And he was just in awe of the crowd there to watch the mini races. So stuff like that's a great thing. Doing stuff like that, getting the little guys and girls involved, and their families come out to the track to watch. It's a great way to cultivate talent for the next
Oh my
generation.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, like when we were young, all we could do was stay at the fence, sit on a
Yeah.
bike, sit
Sit
on a
on a
bike in the
bike.
backstretch, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
dream about it. Right? These kids get to go on
Exactly.
the track and they get to actually do it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's been fun to watch. And, for somebody that, tries to promote racing as positively as we can, we like to cover event. And of course, the mini horses were one of the most popular things. And like you say, it just cultivates, the youngsters to look beyond, the mini horses and maybe joining, which, maybe you can talk a little bit about it, the matinee program over there that PEI has.
Yeah, that's the next step for them, right?
Yeah,
Joining the matinee when they get a little older. Older kids
absolutely.
like Aiden and Liam Myers. He's about that age where he could start maybe. I see them both out jogging now, so the matinee circuit is not far away for those kids. And then the younger generation that are a little younger than that. Mike McGuigan's kids, Owen and Isaac, and
Yeah.
Lucas Heffernan Bailey. He's got a lot of talent, and even Adam Murner's little guy, Jackson Murner, and there are a lot of others that are doing quite well, but they're a little younger. But Aiden and Liam, they could definitely in the next couple of years move on to that matinee circuit because it's another fantastic program that PEI has. When you think about all the talented drivers that have come out of that program to go on and race on the grandest stage, right?
Yeah, youngster I've been kind of watching is Mark's young fellow Landon.
Yeah.
I did have a chance to have him on the podcast. Such a well-spoken young guy, and just exudes passion for the game. And you can almost see on the bike that he's got that kind of natural look to him.
Yeah, absolutely. When you watch him post braid a horse, or if you see him out warming up, he sits on the bike the right way. Like
Yeah,
you can tell right away that it's going to come for him. Just like his old man, they sit in the bike right. They they look like a driver, right?
yeah,
And they look comfortable, like they're sitting in a lazy boy. So you can
yeah.
usually tell which kids are going to go on to um, do great things when just watching them in the bike and how comfortable they're behind a horse.
Here's a question from one of our listeners. She's an avid listener to the podcast, and she sent me a message today. She wanted me to ask you, you've got a farm, I believe, over there, Kurt, over in Prince Edward Island, and the rumor is you're getting into the breeding and stuff. So could you elaborate on that a little bit? Joy Power wanted to ask you about what you kind of foresee as your future into breeding horses.
Yeah, I'm giving it a shot.
Good
It's
for
kind of
you.
it was a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
good.
a couple Septembers ago, man, I think 2 years ago. I was just looking at Preferred Equine, the online um, uh, selling site for horses that
Yeah,
they do, and so I was looking at Preferred Equine one day, and this mare was on there, Silent Serenity. She's a well-said dam, and she had a couple babies, a couple sports rider babies that made the races. One was Southwind Sandor, and he had a mark of 50-1. He was race timed at 49 and change. So
yeah,
she was on there, and she was back and fold a sports rider. So you
yeah.
could buy her in full. So kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And so I bought her that afternoon. Um, didn't talk to anyone about it. Didn't even consult with the wife. Told her when she got home that we have a new horse. She thought I was joking, but no, I
Yeah,
was serious. And so it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. It's something in the back of my mind that I was always interested in. The
yeah.
breeding side of it. I love the babies. That's where my passion is. And so I took a shot at it. We'll see how it goes.
It was funny. I was thinking of a couple questions because I know we only sent you about 13 topics or whatever to talk about. There was one that came up, and it was about the first year stallions. Is Who are you most impressed with the new stallions over there?
There's a lot of good stallions here. Blood Money's a well-bred horse, and I
Yeah,
think
he
he's
is.
going to be a nice sire somewhere fancy. Son of some beach somewhere. I think he's going to be really good as well. And then you got the ones that are already here, like Malicious. I mean, he just
Yeah. Oh
continues to
my God.
pick good horses, and
He
they are
does.
the most beautiful animals on the track. He
Yeah.
throws such a beautiful animal, and they're so talented. So I like Malicious, a source of pride, very
Yeah.
underrated stallion. Salzburg Victor there in Ontario,
I know.
just unbelievable. And
Yeah.
he comes from Source of Pride. Daryl McLean had a nice filly by Source of Pride, mystifying a few years
Yeah.
ago.
He's a nice filly.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of great sires. Everybody has their own opinion on them, but I do like Blood Money, uh, a son of Sweet Lou, Shanghai
Yeah.
Phil, just incredible
I
numbers.
was going to mention him to you.
Yeah, he's done great things. Like Cam McPhee's got a really nice filly there downtown tonight. Jason's
Yeah.
Colt, Tobin's
Yeah.
Chester.
Yeah.
He's done good things since coming here, and an older sire. People may have been a little shy of breeding to an older sire. Everybody wants the shiny new toy, right? But Shanghai Phil, he continues to pump out nice babies.
Yeah, he's put out some nice horses, of course, with Tobin's Chester, and kind of got me thinking today when I was thinking about things to talk to you about. And when you look at possible horse of the year candidates, is there one, two, or three that kind of jump out at you that might have a
Uh,
good argument to be horse of the year? I know
That's a
Breeders'
tough
Crown still to
question.
come too, right?
Yeah, that's a tough question. There's a lot of
Right.
good options when you think about horse of the year. Twinbee Tough Enough has had a fantastic season.
Oh, yeah,
What he did in the Gold Cup and Saucer was just incredible.
it was.
First up in the trial and then second in the final,
Yeah,
and did all the heavy lifting in that trial on his own to get
yeah,
into the final. And then that off the pace effort was incredible. He's been good all summer. Roll has been
yeah,
great. And then the 3-year-old Colts, it's hard to choose between which
yeah.
one would be
Those
the best.
three.
Tobin's Chester's had a fantastic season, but
Yeah,
Jackie's boy, he's coming on. He raced huge over in Woodstock in the Barry McIsaac there. I thought
yeah,
that was an incredible effort back-to-back weeks. Rigo Magic having a good season as well.
yeah,
There's a lot of good options. Malevolent, nice
yeah,
Colt of Angels.
yeah.
So too hard to choose right now. We'll have to wait to see the Breeders' Crown. It all comes down to the crown, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been some nice horses come out of the Breeders' Crown that go on to bigger things. And one thing that PEI adopted over there in Red Shores and the Horsemen over there were a graduate series for horses that graduated or 4 years old. And instead of selling them, it gives a little bit of initiative to keep them here. Do you think that's a good program?
Love it. Love the
Yeah,
move. Um, when we're everybody concerned about horse population, well, a good way to retain them is to make those programs for the aged horses. Because usually what the trend has been is race them at 2 and 3, sell them in the fall of their 3-year-old year, and
yeah,
move on and buy the next one at the sale, right? But
yeah,
keeping them around, having those the graduate series program, great for 4 and 5-year-olds, and you're seeing it with Salzburg Ian, Malignity, and
yeah,
that PEI Cold State Gold.
yeah,
There was a lot of talent in that race. So happy those horses stuck around and continue to race, because then they're going to graduate into probably the Invitational
yeah.
next year. I think Malignity will be uh, more of a factor next year for sure.
Yeah, I think too. It's tough, going from a 3-year-old right into the invitational ranks, and
Yeah,
you know he,
very
you
tough.
know he still held his own in a number of races this year. But I'm like you. I think
Absolutely.
he's going to be. I think he's going to be even better next year.
Yeah, and like Langell made an equipment change, made a bit change on him,
Yeah,
Old Home, and since then, Malignity's been unbelievable. Like he was a winner the next start,
yeah,
and then he was caught in 2 starts ago. Actually, 3 starts back, he was caught in, finished seventh. He was running over them, and then he won the gold final. He went off at about seven
yeah.
to one with
I
that
know.
breathtaking move to the front. Big things are going to happen for him next year because, like you
Yeah,
say, the 4-year-old campaign is a tough one. Having to
it
go
is.
up against aged horses,
So Donnie McRae, do you think he'll hold on to Tobin's Chester and
tough to
race
say.
him? Yeah,
Tough to say. He likes to move them along, but
he
it's
does.
tough to say. He's such a nice colt, right? He
He
may
is.
he may send him down to the States to race. He may hold on to them. It's hard to know. Really hard to know, but he's been a dandy, and he would be a dandy 4-year-old here.
Yeah, and there's an owner there, Don McRae, who has put so much, into the sport over the years, and to see him have those, real good invitational horses this year, and this nice colt come along, it's guys like him that keep the industry thriving over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see him have a nice colt. And B
Yeah,
to B, they pay good money for him.
yeah,
He co-owns along with Blair McLaughlin, another good owner
yeah,
in the sport, who
yeah,
has he has
absolutely.
a few horses with Jeff Lilly and has some with Jason. So he's been a good owner too. And, you know, it's nice to see guys who put the money out have a little success, right?
Yeah,
It's B2B's coming into his own right now. He's really good this time of year, and he's been
he is.
racing really good in the last couple starts. So he's coming into his prime at the right time with that big Premier's Cup final coming up, Breeders' Crown weekend. Hopefully, he races well on Saturday in Woodstock, because it's still dicey on who's going to crack the top 8 for the Premier's Cup final.
So I wanted to ask you, I'm sure people, uh, know it that know you guys pretty good, but your relationship with the Blue Knight, Jason. Um, what's it like to, have to watch your brother race and give him the odd critique, and how does that work? And I'm sure there's kind of off camera bantering back and forth between you two too.
Oh, I love to give him a hard time every now
Yeah,
and then, give him a few digs on his drives, but I've been leaving him alone lately. He's doing a
yeah,
fantastic job. I know how hard the job is of catch driving. Split second decisions, sometimes they work in your favor, sometimes they don't. So I've been cutting him some slack lately, but I do the odd time like to give him a dig. It was great, you know, working with him when I was younger. I loved going to the track with him when we were younger and we had the stable together. And then, like I said, he was pretty nice to give me that drive on Edgewater RB when RB was a 5 and 6 year old. So that was pretty nice of him because he was trying to drive himself, right? And
yeah,
so I drove against him back in the day too, so that was a lot of
yeah.
fun.
I
Um,
seen that.
yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
would drive Edgewater RB sometimes, and he would drive a mare for Brenda Mullen named Coconut Supreme. Sometimes
Oh,
she
okay. I
would have to
remember
race
her.
against the boys. Yeah, she was a
Yeah,
really nice aged
he
mare.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes,
Did
what?
she ever have a foal or anything?
She did have a foal, but I
Yeah.
don't think any of them ever turned out to be
Is that right?
as good as she was. But she was a great mare, and so
Yeah.
she would have to race against the boys. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I would get the better of them, and I'd let them have it after the races. But no, I leave them alone now. I don't do
Yeah.
any critiquing lately.
No, right on. So when you're not busy, getting ready for your shows and things like that, what else do you like? I know you're a big hockey fan, so you watch a lot of sports.
Yeah, big football fan too. I like the
Me
Boston
too.
Bruins, big Bruins fan. I
Yeah.
like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the football.
Geez, you
But I'm
must be
probably,
happy, 3-0.
yeah, got to be pretty happy. That was a pretty nice pickup with Justin Fields. Uh, he
Sure
look
was.
he looks to be turning out quite well. And the Bruins, I don't know what they're going to do without a goaltender. Maybe they might have to turn the net around because
Yeah.
Swayman's holding out on us. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But I'm going to tune in a few minutes. Actually, my nephew plays for the Charlottetown Islanders. Simon Hughes.
Oh,
This is
yes.
this is his last year playing for the Charlottetown Islanders in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
And he'll be
So
eligible for the draft.
yeah, so I'm gonna watch him tonight. He's playing. The Islanders are playing the St. John Sea Dogs, and
Oh, are they?
yeah, and if you know Scott McLean with Universal Media,
I sure do. Yeah.
yeah, well, his son
His
Matthew
son plays
McLean,
for them.
he plays on the Sea Dogs,
Yeah.
and
No, he
and so
does.
they're playing tonight. So that should be a pretty entertaining game.
Right on. Well, listen, I won't keep you, Kurt. I thank you very much for taking the time out to chat with us tonight, and look forward to hearing you each and every week at Red Shores, buddy.
Well, thanks a lot for the kind words. And again, thanks for having me on the podcast. And you guys do, like I said, a fantastic job with this. And I do like also what you do on Facebook, promoting the sport any way you can. I love it.
No, I appreciate that, Kurt. Thanks very much. And next episode we got coming up is a guy that from the Maritimes who just won 1,000 races lifetime, and Dave Kelly will be a special guest on our podcast coming up next week. So again, thanks very much to Kurt Hughes, analyst for Red Shores. for joining us here on Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. And again, we'll be back next week with our next guest, Dave Kelly.